Okay, so we got the canoe sitting there, and then we're gonna follow this path. And voila.
Hey folks, welcome back to Brad Morgan Adventures. Today we're going deep into Algonquin Park's past, chasing down the ruins of a 100-year-old logging mill and a forgotten bridge. Oh, and yes, before the history lesson started, I was joined at camp by a bull moose for my morning coffee. Nothing wakes you up quite like 1,200 pounds of antlers staring at your mug. Even my dog Bear wasn't sure if he should bark, or just offer the moose a sip. Once we caffeinated ourselves, and the moose wandered off to his next Tim Hortons, it was time to paddle. I launched from Teepee Lake, cut across Canoe Lake and slid into Potter Creek. This is where things get interesting. Not just because I was balancing a canoe, a GoPro and a camera while Bear supervised, but because this little creek hides some massive pieces of Ontario history. First up, the old road bridge. Over 100 years ago, this was all part of the Ottawa, Arnprior and Parry Sound railway system, later absorbed by CN. Back then, trains hauled logs out of the park faster than TikTok trends disappear. The line opened in the 1890s, hit its peak during the lumber boom, and by the 1930s CN was already abandoning sections. The very last train moved through here in 1995, and then poof, the rails were lifted. Now what's left are timbers slowly melting into the creek, looking more like modern art than industrial power. Next up, the ruins of the Barry's Bay Lumber Company mill, built in 1923. When I first stumbled on it through the bush line, I thought maybe I'd found the old Algonquin Park Hotel ruins. But no, this was the heart of a sawmill operation. All that is left is crumbling concrete piers, red brick shards, and a giant circular foundation for the sawdust burner. Basically a huge bonfire pit designed to torch sawdust so it didn't pile up like confetti after a parade. The mill actually burned in 1934, and instead of rebuilding, the forest simply reclaimed it. Today you've got towering pines where men once sawed lumber by hand. If walls could talk, these ones would cough sawdust.
Okay, so we got the canoe sitting there, and then we're gonna follow this path. And voila. How cool is this?
Algonquin wasn't even a park until 1893. Before that, this was logger country. By 1864, the square timber trade was booming, logs floated down rivers by the thousands. The last square pine was cut by 1912. Then came the railways, which sped up the industry like crazy. And get this, during World War II, yellow birch from Algonquin was used to build mosquito bombers. That's right, trees from here ended up as warplanes over Europe.
Bear, come here.
From forest to fighter plane, talk about unexpected career paths.
It's a beautiful old building. Lots of history.
Back in 1934, the Barry's Bay Lumber Company mill met a fiery fate, and what a sight it must have been. Picture the night sky glowing red, sparks flying, and half the town gathered along Potter Creek watching their livelihoods go up in smoke. The fire roared through stacks of timber and sawdust like a bonfire from the logging gods themselves. By morning, the mill was ash, jobs were gone, and nature slowly began to reclaim the ruins. Today it's all moss, stone, and memories, but you can almost smell the smoke of 1934 if you stand still long enough. Before the fire ever struck, this place was alive with the rhythm of hard work. Picture the early 1920s, men trudging in before dawn, their breath fogging in the cold air, boots crunching on frozen sawdust.
See all the old brickwork. I guess that's an old chimney, I would assume. Pretty cool.
The mill would roar to life as the first logs rolled in, pine, birch, maybe a few red spruce, hauled by rail or floated down the creek. Inside, the air was thick with sawdust and sweat, the constant buzz of blades cutting through timber like thunder on repeat. It wasn't glamorous, but it was honest work. Many of these men were newcomers, immigrants, settlers, carving out a living in the wilds of Ontario, far from the cities and comforts they'd left behind. This mill wasn't just a job site, it was a lifeline, a community, a symbol of human grit against the northern wilderness. And though the fire of 1934 brought an end to its roar, the spirit of those who worked here still lingers in the forest, in the ruins, in the river, and in every echo of the saws that once shaped this land. Thanks for joining me on this trip through the rise and fall of the Barry's Bay Lumber Company mill. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more hidden history and wild Canadian adventures. I'm Brad from Brad Morgan Adventures. See you out there on the next one.